Alistair Overeem versus Alexey Oleinik. Now, what really happened in this fight? The fight pretty much went how most people thought it was gonna go. Alistair Overeem was gonna showcase a lot more of a dominant and more lethal striking style, whereas Oleinik has a submission threat. But Alistair Overeem has always been known to have amazing takedown defense and submission defense, fighting for Silver Doom 3 times in his career, did many services to face a guy like Alexey Oleinik, who took the fight on short notice as well. But in the fight, Overeem had one offensive weapon, which is crazy to think about, and that was the knee. Mainly because Alexey Oleinik's only path to get a takedown to strike and his natural stance has more of a downward trajectory. He throws overhands that come on their way down, and due to those overhands, he ducks his head. And he ducks his head on everything he does, as well as takedowns. His natural stance, his head is a little bit lower. He's always lowering his head, and by lowering his head constantly throughout the fight, throughout all of his fights, Alistair Overeem only needs really a knee. And when he throws a knee, he stands up very straight, right? So those extremely looping overhands that aren't really calculated are going to have a hard time finding the chin of Overeem. And they are a lot easier to see coming. I mean, almost every single time Alexey Oleinik was attacking Overeem with those wild looping punches, Overeem had a very easy time just covering up. Tight guards, for heavyweights especially, because the arms are naturally a lot bigger, can cover the chin a lot better than smaller fighters, they were very easy to block those looping punches from getting through. And because they are so looping to the point where Oleinik is winding back and almost swinging from the bleachers with every punch, they're just too easy to see coming at that point, especially for a guy as experienced as Overeem is. And usually, whenever Oleinik was throwing those kind of punches, Overeem would back up as well. He usually got to the cage, and that allowed Oleinik to really start picking up the volume of his strikes, throwing out a lot more. And Overeem always wanted to get into the clinch because, one, his knees are absolutely devastating. He has the best clinch work in the heavyweight division, but also he's very confident in his takedown defense. They have trained before. It didn't seem like Overeem was at all cautious in the clinch of getting taken down or anything like that. He actually took down Oleinik with some of those trips. And in the clinch, with the high volume that Oleinik was able to establish later in the fight, he started going to the body a lot, right? He started throwing some over the top, but Overeem was covering up on them very well, tight guard. But then Oleinik started going to the body with those uppercuts, and you leave an opening there, right? You could leave an opening for a left elbow because Oleinik kept throwing the right uppercut, or a tie plum on that side, or a single collar to establish and start working for the tie plum. And that is what Alistair Overeem was doing. And once he was able to do that, he was able to control the clinch. Even though Oleinik is throwing punches to the body, Overeem is controlling his posture. He can also decrease the power that Oleinik is able to produce in his punches, simply by having that single collar on the left side. Sometimes he drove in the overhook on the right side afterward, and sometimes he would drive knees. If he wasn't going to drive knees, he would reverse the position very easily, and then start throwing up some lethal knees at Alexey Oleinik. And Alistair Overeem's knees come from different angles. They aren't really coming straight up like Anderson Silva was throwing many times in his career. I mean, he's able to come around. He's able to create these angles with his knees that other heavyweights are not able to do. And it makes it such a hard thing to deal with. And the angle he really likes to go to, it seems like, is he likes to bring his knee kind of not straight up, but almost roundhouse with the knee sometimes, to the point where it can come over the left arm of his opponent, right? Not up the middle, right through an opening through the guard, but around the arm on the side and connect right to the jaw every single time. And the ending sequence is what really showed that. Landed 3 of those same knees on Alexey Oleinik and eventually dropped him to the ground. And also defensively, Oleinik didn't really know what to do to defend those knees. I mean, he kept throwing punches. He wasn't even putting his arms up. He wasn't trying to block. He wasn't trying to create some position that naturally stops the knee from coming through. He just kept throwing punches. I mean, it shows his toughness, but you have to show some fight IQ in there as well. And he is a very experienced fighter, so it was kind of surprising to not see him defend any of those knees at all and just continuously threw punches at the body, which weren't really affecting Overeem at all. Now, I understand the excuse from Oleinik and also maybe fans of Oleinik saying that he didn't have time to prepare for a guy like Overeem, but Overeem also didn't have time to prepare for Oleinik, and he came up with a masterful game plan that all he needed was one attack, right? So it just showed Alistair Overeem was the better fighter. He had the higher fight IQ. They're both extremely experienced as well. I mean, they shared over 100 fights, both of them. And that's pretty much how the fight was going. Oleinik showed his toughness. He showed his chin. Overeem found those knees early on and just kept going to them. You could see it was part of his game plan. It was just a tremendous performance from Alistair Overeem, making his way up the heavyweight rank. And since I didn't make a reaction video, the fight I wanted to see Alistair Overeem fight next, I would love to see him fight Alexander Volkov. That was an amazing fight. It's almost a toss-up fight, to be honest. And it's a matchup between the two most technical strikers in the heavyweight division right now. But Volkov is probably going to be out for a long time. So Alistair Overeem versus Derek Lewis, I think, would be the fight to make. Technical striker versus the brawler, Overeem doesn't really have that chin to really take a shot from Derek Lewis. I mean, especially not Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis has a decent chin, but Overeem has enough power and enough precision to really hurt Lewis with every single shot. I do favor Alistair Overeem in that fight if that's going to happen next. But if not that, I think him versus Cain Velasquez is a fight that's overdue at this point. I mean, they've been in the game for so long at this point, and they never fought each other, which is kind of crazy. I would love to see Overeem versus Cain. And I think it's a fight Overeem will love to have next too. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. My next video is probably going to be the podcast, so be looking out for that. That's probably going to come out tomorrow or Monday. I would say Monday, be looking out for that. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.